Hello and welcome to my channel. This is my very first video and it's going to be about Venom Let There Be Carnage. So the movie was quite fun to watch, I'm not gonna lie, but I have a few issues on the storytelling and the way that many characters were introduced, especially Carnage and his lover Shriek, or I mean in this movie she's named just Frances. So the way we start the movie is with a flashback, and that is supposed to give us the origin story of Cassidy and Frances. Both of them were basically in a asylum, I would say, from the 80s. The place looks horrible, and they are both treated very badly. But they seem to have a romantic connection. They seem very close to each other. They have their love story basically introduced in this asylum, and this is all we know about Frances and Cassidy for the moment. Next thing we see is that they are both being separated because Frances is taken away to a different facility. Basically, they have discovered that she has a power, meaning that she is a mutant, which is something interesting. Since I think the concept of mutant in Marvel Universe is still very shy, and in Venom's universe, this one, we actually don't know if mutants are something very common or if she's exceptional and unique in her kind. But anyway, we get to the part where they are transferring her. She's in a secured van, and there she tries to escape by using her powers. Basically, she starts screaming, so manipulating sound like she does with her power, and she gets shot in the eye. So basically, you think that that's done, like Shriek is dead, but no, she wakes up, she's alive, she has survived, and she is put in a secure facility in a box that is soundproofed, which makes sense since they are trying not to get killed by her. Although we don't know if she's there to be experimented on, or they are just trying to observe her, or just it's some type of high-tech prison to keep her away from the rest of society. And this is where we hit the first issue, I would say, with this movie. We don't have enough time to basically get a grasp on every character. The only reason I was able to understand what was happening between Shriek and Cassidy is because they are an iconic couple in the comic books. And basically, if you have knowledge of her powers, you understand that she's manipulating sound and that she's a mutant. Otherwise, it's quite unclear, basically, until she starts basically using her power on screen. You don't really know what's happening to her. After a while, we get a jump cut, which is a bit weird in this movie. It happens a lot, where basically we cut and go to the next scene without further explanations. And now we have gone from the 80s to present day. No more signs of Shriek. Forget about her. We only basically get acquainted again with Cassidy, and now he's tried for being a serial killer. He's going to be executed on the death penalty. And Eddie and Venom are having they're having some, I would say, couple issues, which is interesting. I mean, I think in this movie, to be quite honest, they have seen all the fan art and the fan fiction that happened after the first Venom. Eddie X Venom is quite popular, and throughout this whole movie, you're going to see that there is a theme where they are trying to make Venom less of a symbiote and more of a lover or human kind of entity, which in itself, I mean, I don't mind, but the whole purpose or the whole appeal of Venom is that he doesn't have a human sense of awareness. and he doesn't really care what he has to do to get to basically what he wants, which is food. And let's not forget that Venom's food is a human. He eats humans, okay? But in my opinion, in this new movie of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, he was too humanized, which instead of making him an anti-hero, they almost try to make him like a good guy, which is not the ideal. Although I understand it, because I mean, you're trying to make Venom a hero in his own movie, while at the same time giving him that badass energy. Like he doesn't really comply to rules, but throughout this whole movie he doesn't really break rules. So even when he has an opportunity later on to break all the rules that Eddie has put for him, he doesn't take the chance, although he is responsible for quite some deaths throughout this whole movie. But let's backtrack and go back to Eddie and Venom having the fight of their life. Basically, Eddie is all the time explaining to Venom that the only reason that he's failing in life is because of the symbiote of Venom, which, come to think of it, in many occasions you can see that Venom is the only reason that Eddie can basically get through difficulties and solve some of the mysteries that he's faced to, which includes Cassidy himself. So the relationship between Eddie and Venom gets a bit I would say, on the weird side, because they are trying to present them as some sort of couple, which in itself is not new. Basically, Eddie and Venom are a quite popular ship, I would say. An abusive one. I should say it's not an ideal relationship, okay? But it is not uncommon to see this kind of narrative. And what's interesting here is that they, in this movie, they work well together when it comes to solving the mystery of Cassidy. Basically, he calls Eddie and gives him the exclusive to his last words before he gets sentenced to death. And here we see the potential of Venom, the true potential of Venom, not just turning into a big hulky guy and having super strength, but the intellectual side of Venom. And that is something that I really liked. This was quite funny, because Venom was literally drawing, or basically explaining to Eddie all the things that he already understood, because just by seeing some drawings on the walls of Cassidy's cell, he picked up some elements and was already aware of where Cassidy had hidden the bodies, and that is the main thing that everyone is trying to figure out. So basically, Venom understands this. He tells Eddie, or rather, he gives him a bunch of clues, and then Eddie, instead of going to the police, publishes his article, which makes him again a super journalist. He's all over the news and everything. The issue here is that now Cassidy feels that he has been betrayed by Eddie, and he asks him to come and talk to him. And this is where I think that the plot gets a bit too, I would say, everything is happening, but when you look at things after the events happen, it's a bit too, it's too easy. Like, for example, when Eddie goes to visit Cassidy starts telling him, you're a cancer to everyone around you, you're a failure, and the reason of that is because you basically are a big loser. So he's provoking Eddie, and then Venom gets out of control and starts basically hitting Cassidy, And at that moment, Cassidy, for some reason, is able to take a grip on Eddie and bite him. And from that drop of blood, basically, he is contaminated with I would say, fragment of venom, which will then, of course, turn into Carnage. Now, my issue here is that I would say I don't really understand how Venom is not able to protect Eddie from this attack, but again, we want to see Venom, so I'm quite happy that this happens. Now that Cassidy is infected with the symbiote, Venom and Eddie go back to their home, and this is when the big fight between Venom and Eddie starts happening, because Eddie basically is telling him, you have to calm down, because if they discover who we are, we're ending in Area 51, and that's it for us. Like, either we are going to get killed, or we are ending, prisoners in some secret facility somewhere in the United States, which is understandable. And Venom is angry because he doesn't understand why Eddie can't appreciate him. And this is where I kind of agree with Venom, because from the start of the movie, Eddie has this tendency to put everything on Venom, blaming him from everything that's happening to him without recognizing the good side. That he gets to be super strong. He gets to jump off the roof of many buildings without being harmed. Instant cure for any harm that can happen to his body, and super intelligence. Because let's not forget that the one who solved the mystery of Cassidy is not Eddie, but Venom. And after this fight, basically, they split up. So Eddie activates the alarm in his house, and Venom just says goodbye and goes off, jumping by the window, as the goo form that he has. And then he starts jumping from one human to another, which in this part I found it quite funny that, first of all, he jumps onto what looks like a homeless man on the street, and he turns into Venom. So basically the full form, the alien side of him with the huge size, and starts tearing apart the scooter, or motorbike of Eddie, and no one notices. And this is a bit weird, because literally no one is noticing that there is this big black thing that looks like an absolute monster, like a demon. And then he jumps into the body of a woman that is biking by. And when he's going away, this is quite funny. He's flipping off Eddie, basically giving him the middle finger. But it is like a third arm that's going out of the woman's back, and it's quite huge. And she is biking in the middle of a very busy street with people, with cars, with everything, and there's lighting. So there's no way that no one has caught on this. But anyway, he goes away, and Eddie stays at home, and he's basically, he seems relieved to not have someone in his brain talking to him all the time. Now, when he gets to when I say he, I mean Venom, when the symbiote gets to a rave party, what looks like people who have costumes, cosplaying and everything, he takes control of a random guy, in the party, and turns into his Venom self. So basically the big, huge alien. And this was quite funny, but because everyone is drunk and high and, maybe on drugs or something like that, they don't really recognize, or rather I would say they don't really understand this is a real alien. They think that this is the best cosplay in the world. Like the level of detail. Like if I saw someone with this level of cosplay, with the eyes that are moving by themselves, I would have my questions. But no one is the wiser. Everyone thinks he's in a costume. There's no issue with that. Well, my issue is that um, there's a scene where he gets on stage and starts speaking to an audience of people around him, and he's basically saying, like, "Oh my God, Eddie was so ashamed of me, and he was keeping me away and hiding me. But look at you, you're all loving me, and we should be accepted of." And I think this was meant to be like. It is a positive message. It is a positive message to get around. They were trying, I think, to make the metaphor, with the LGBT community and everything, but it was very cringy, very cheesy, and it felt out of place, and it broke the pace of the movie. The thing is, if you want to have affirming messages for the LGBT community, the I think Venom is not the ideal character, because let's not forget, this is a symbiote, an alien that comes from another planet and that feeds on other people. So I don't know if it is the ideal scenario to make the parallel between a monster and a community. But hey, at least they got the message out. It was a cute message. It was a nice message. So that's a nice thing. But again, they are trying to humanize Venom way too much. And I think the appeal of Venom is that he's an alien, that he doesn't really understand human behavior or human psyche. With all the you can't eat another human, he just doesn't care, because he isn't human. For him, it's like for us chicken or stuff we eat, we're just food to him. So the fact that we are having this human version of Venom, it takes away from his appeal. Or at least I find that what I really liked about Venom was his unhinged side, that made him quite interesting to watch and to read about. Now, when Venom starts to run out of people to to infect, because as you know, when Venom is inside someone, he starts eating them from inside. So one after another, they start falling like flies. So he's killing a bunch of people just from possessing them, or infecting them. So he ends up going to the lady at the convenience store. I'm so sorry, I don't remember her name. But basically, she welcomes him inside of her body and keeps him alive eating chocolate, like Eddie does. And this is the part where it's a bit, I would say, the character of Anne and Dan, or to say the least, irrelevant. They are Anne is useful in the sense that she has a connection to both Eddie and Venom, and she is able to basically seduce Venom into coming back to Eddie. I mean, seduce. She's just basically pulling the emotional strings, which, again, Venom shouldn't have emotional strings, but hey, this is a new universe. And on the other side, we have Carnage, that basically comes alive or forms right when Cassidy is about to be injected with the lethal poison to put him down, to basically kill him in his death sentence. And he basically becomes Carnage and starts killing a bunch of people. Now, from the get-go, we know and we see that Carnage is far superior to Venom, because single-handedly, he basically kills a whole ward of the prison with every single person that's in there, whether it is prisoners or prison guards. He kills everyone, and of course he goes to the mayor and bites his head off. And once again, we were hoping for an R-rated movie, and we were hoping to see some splattering, some red, but it was it was kept PG-13, so every head that was falling or being eaten, or everyone that was dying off screen, or cut, and you see a body, and basically they're dead. So Carnage goes and finds Frances, and this is interesting because Carnage apparently has also the power to connect to the internet and find the files that basically connect, that tell him where she is. So Frances is alive, he knows it now, and he goes to the facility and kills everyone, and basically frees Frances from her cell. And this is when we see that Carnage doesn't like Shriek, because of course sound is one of his weaknesses, along with the fire, just like Venom. And basically they go ahead, of course they cannot just go and live happily ever after, because they are the bad guys, so they want revenge, and their revenge is basically to kill Eddie. Cassidy wants to kill Eddie, Carnage wants to kill Venom, which is his father. And this is interesting because in this universe also, Carnage is considered to be an offspring of Venom. And Shriek wants to kill the police officer that shot her in the eye, who incidentally happens to be the chief police officer that is investigating the case of Cassidy, and also who is keeping an eye on Eddie, because he sees that there are a lot of weird things that are happening around Eddie. But again, he is quite irrelevant to the plot until towards the end. This movie, to be quite honest, is a bit all over the place, and the interesting characters, like for example, my favorite character in this movie was Shriek, and I wish she had more time on screen. I wish they gave us more information on her before she ended up in the asylum, before how she discovered her powers, how they came to be, who she is, because basically we don't know who she is other than the girlfriend of Cassidy and Carnage. But I would say their love story gave us a very beautiful scene, and I loved it in the cathedral when they are getting married. She's wearing all black gown, and it's very beautiful. I loved it. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the outfit that Cassidy was wearing also. They were very beautiful together. Crazy, but beautiful. And this is where we get an iconic fight scene inside of the cathedral, where basically Venom and Carnage start fighting, and we see that Venom is very weak compared to Carnage. But of course, this is his movie, so in the end, good prevails. But although Venom is not good, and this is made clear towards the end, where basically even Eddie gives up his rules, and this is interesting to me, where basically he lets Venom eat Cassidy. So basically the head is gone, and Venom eats Cassidy and Carnage too. So basically Carnage is gone from the picture, so we won't see him again, which is a pity. Frances also, I was hoping she was going to survive, honestly, but she gets crushed by the bell of the cathedral, so dead also. The only ones that survive are Anne and Dan, which again we don't really care. But the one that's interesting is that the police officer, I don't remember his name. Honestly, I tried, but even after seeing the movie, I was trying to remember all the names, and that police officer just wouldn't register in my mind. He basically survives. You think he's dead, but then he survives, and when he opens his eyes, they are glowing. So basically, they're black, and the iris is bluish gray. And that's interesting because this means that either he has been infected with a symbiote, which, there are many possibilities, many symbiotes in the Marvel universe, or maybe he has some kind of power. He is a mutant, who knows. So this last part is, I would say, the most interesting part of the whole movie, is that after all of this, of all of what has happened so far, We see that Eddie and Venom have gone to a remote location, most likely an island, and they are basically staying away from society. And they're at the beach, just enjoying the weather, I guess. And then Eddie says, like, we, I guess we will go to anyone who needs like some kind of ferocious hero or something like that, along those lines. And Venom gets all excited, and then we have the secret ending, which is the most interesting part of this whole process. And in this secret ending, what we see is that Venom and Eddie are lying in the bed, and at this point they have a very interesting conversation, which is something that I am very happy to hear. That basically Eddie tells him, are you keeping some secrets from me? And Venom just tells him, I am a symbiote, I am much older than you, he has all of this knowledge. And he's like, I'm going to share with you a glimpse of what I know. And this is something that I'm very glad they kept, because Venom is a small part of this symbiote community, or the symbiote planet. And I hope we get to see more of his origins, because we don't know much of Venom other than, Carnage, Riot, and the spaceship he came in. But we don't really know the origin story. We don't know the creator of the symbiote, his planet. So I'm very excited to see this. But then there's a glitch, and at first I honestly thought that this was Venom, sharing his. He was going to share his memories, and I was, oh, this is exciting. We're going to see Venom's planet. But no, the reality is shifting. Reality is glitching. And then there's a flash of light, and then we see Peter Parker on TV. We see Tom Holland, basically, the young Peter Parker. And Spider-Man is now in Venom's universe. Or should I say, Venom has been introduced to the main Marvel multiverse. So I think that this means, we all know that what this means is basically Doctor Strange has cast a spell in the upcoming Spider-Man movie, which I'm very excited about. And this also means that there are many characters that are jumping all over the multiverse. We also saw in Loki, okay, that there are some rules that had been broken by both Lokis. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should go see the series Loki on Disney Plus, because honestly, this is very interesting. Like, I think all these events are happening all at once. WandaVision, Wanda has broken some laws of reality itself. Loki is breaking the laws of continuum, space-time continuum. And now Doctor Strange is breaking some other type of law. So now we're having a multiverse that is breaking apart. The limits are getting thinner and thinner. And now we have Venom, who is introduced to Spider-Man's universe. And this is interesting because Spider-Man and Venom are the most iconic enemies in Marvel comics. And I love this. One thing that I didn't like, and this is just me being, I think, a little bit too sensitive, maybe, I don't know. But when Venom sees Spider-Man, which again, he never saw Spider-Man, okay? He never encountered Spider-Man. He comes from a universe where Spider-Man isn't a thing. He immediately gets into Venom form, and he starts licking the face of Peter Parker, which it's interesting. It's interesting in the sense that, first of all, it is disturbing because Peter Parker is still underage, but we're not getting into that. We are just concentrated on the fact that it is a bit too convenient that the moment Venom sees Spider-Man, he just feels hate, or he gets interested in eating Spider-Man, which doesn't make sense. I think it would make more sense to wait for upcoming movies to introduce some kind of friction between Eddie Brock, Peter Parker, Venom, and Spider-Man, because all of these personalities are having issues with each other, and then introduce us to their enmity that is quite legendary. So yeah, I'm honestly very excited to see him go into the multiverse, join the main Marvel universe. But also, this means that since Shriek is a mutant, this is just me outreaching, but uh, maybe I'm looking too much into this. But since Shriek is a mutant, this also could mean that other mutants from other universes could enter the main universe. And I honestly hope that in the future we get to see more X-Men. This is just me being like, I hope we get to see more X-Men. Because honestly, Storm is my favorite X-Men, along with Jean Grey. And I'm really hoping that in the future we get to see like a good version of them. We had very good versions of them in the past, but I'm excited to see a version of this current Marvel universe. So yeah, that was. I hope this was clear. That was my thoughts on this new Venom Let There Be Carnage movie. Overall, it was enjoyable, honestly. If you are still hesitating to go see it, if you haven't still seen it, even after all these spoilers, I'm sorry, but I hope that I hope that you go see it because it is still a very fun movie to watch. It is interesting to see Venom and Eddie's relationship go further, to see that there are still some places, some spaces of secret coming from Venom, that he still has some things to tell us, to give us in the upcoming years. And also, it's just nice to see the iconic enemy of Spider-Man coming in contact with Spider-Man, because I think that when you think of Venom, you immediately think of Spider-Man, and to see a dynamic between these two would be interesting. And also, I hope that Marvel starts introducing long-lasting enemies. I'm interested in seeing how does Venom fit in this new universe, because we're going to have Spider-Man, No Way Home, we're going to have the Eternals, and we're going to have Doctor Strange, which honestly, Doctor Strange is my favorite character, and I cannot wait to see him in action in his second standalone movie. So yeah, let's see and hope for the best for Venom, at least. And yeah, those were my thoughts. I hope this video wasn't too boring. I have been recording for quite some time, trying to make things as concise as possible. And if you liked it, give me a like. Subscribe if you want more content. I will be doing like one video like this every week, or at least I will try to. And I'll do a lot of stuff. I'll do movie reviews. I'll do also pieces where I just discuss random topics. And I hope you join me in this, YouTube adventure. So I'll see you next week, and drop a comment if you want. Drop me a like I said, and see you next week. Thank you. Goodbye.